Yesterday, Shaka Tony was talking about how coachable Adisa Isaac is. So, in what ways, is he, I guess, like that?
Yeah, I think number one, he's humble. I'd say the other thing is I think he's got a lot of trust in the coaches, and he's got a lot of trust in the veteran players. I think it's a little bit just kind of how he was raised and how he was wired. I think some of you guys, or most of you guys, know about his background. He's probably more mature than most freshmen, based on his family dynamics and things like that. And I also think he's a guy that's just very appreciative of being at Penn State. So the combination of all those things usually are helpful. So I think the important key there is keeping that mentality the whole time he's here, so he can continue to grow.
How's your team responding to the challenge this week on the practice field?
Good. Yeah. I know we haven't played totally consistent all year long. I don't know if there's a team in the country that has, but we've practiced well. There hasn't been. I've been doing this a long time, and there's days where you feel like you come out and you got to pull it out of them. I haven't felt that way really all year. We have practiced well. Can we practice better? Yes, I'm not saying that, but I've left practice for the most part feeling pretty good, and it's been the same way this week. So I think as we get more depth, that helps, because everybody knows there's somebody behind them. That wants those reps and opportunities, and then we're obviously motivated by going on the road and playing either the 1, 2, or 3 ranked team in the country, depending on what you're looking at.
James, how have they done kind of dealing with all the noise around a game like this? I know you take it one game at a time, but it seems like everything is even hyped a little bit more for this one.
Yeah, I don't know if it necessarily feels that way for us. Maybe it is. I don't really sense that. I don't know if I really sense that from us.
Is that a positive that you don't feel?
Yeah, I think so. I think so for the most part. I think the other thing is I think you look on tape, and they gain your respect. You watch them on tape; they're very talented. So I think that helps keep our guys focused and motivated, because they see it. It's not us trying to convince them of it. They see it and respect it. So, but I haven't felt that way, at least in our building or practices or meeting, or you overhear conversations and things like that. I haven't felt that way.
James, how do you balance, game planning for a guy like Chase Young, knowing how talented he is, with making sure you're not forgetting about all the other talented guys on the defensive end?
Well, I think what you do is you identify who the problem guys are. Obviously, they got a bunch of them, but some stand out more than others. But you can't chase them all. So you pick out whoever those guys are on offense, defense, and special teams. You make sure that your game plan deals with that, but then the other balance is you spend too much time trying to deal with limiting Chase's impact, that you're also not attacking the defense and doing the things you have to do to be successful. You're just so worried about Chase. So that's, to me, the real balance is how do you spend enough time on those guys that they don't have too much of an impact in the game, but also put your guys in position to still have opportunities to make plays and be aggressive.
James, is there still a certain amount of unknown about the Ohio State team, given how well they've played and how few, I guess, challenges they seem to have faced? Because obviously they played a schedule that is, Big Ten schedule, but haven't really come up against a team that has challenged them. Are there still things that you don't know or we don't know about them?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I don't know if I would necessarily say that based on the tape and how they've played. They've played really well. They've created that. It's not the other storyline. They've created it because of how talented they are and how well they've played. So I don't think it's like a team that you question if they've been tested, because the film shows you they're pretty much playing up to their standard consistently. Some of it is talent driven, some of it is scheme driven, some of it is cultural. It's a combination of all those things, I think.
Hey James, you said yesterday and then this morning on the radio show that this might be
which radio show?
Wingo and Golden. I got up really wide.
Just curious which one you're listening to.
But this might, you kind of been saying this might be the best team that you've seen in your time here. Is that a definitive statement, and where did that compare to your previous institution, teams you saw there?
Yeah, you know, it's hard to be definitive about something like that. It's a gut feeling. Just when you watch the tape and you see the length and you see the athleticism, and you see the production, it's hard to argue with it. You know, when you talk to people in the profession that I know and respect, and they talk about the number of probably first-round draft choices and things like that on their roster, it's kind of a combination of all those things. You know, but for it to be definitive, no, it's hard to say. I mean, I'd have to go back and spend time studying who we've played in this conference and what their rosters were like, and then also obviously the SEC for 3 years, some pretty good teams there. But it's up there. It's in the conversation. You know, they put together an impressive roster, and they're playing at a high level right now. And obviously, Justin's come in and you know, changed that. I think he's taken it to another level for him.
James, you had a chance to talk to Blake a couple times in the last month, and he said that he thinks he's playing his best football, maybe most consistent football right now. Looking back as his kind of career kind of comes to a close here, is it easy to quantify how much or how important he's been to the special teams unit?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because I think if you're just nationally looking in the stat column, you wouldn't necessarily say that. But a lot of times those punters that are punting for crazy yards, they're on a team that may not be very good, so they're in a position where they're punting full field a lot, where a large percentage of his punts are sky punts where we're trying to pin people inside the 10-yard line. So I think, yeah, you know, if you understand special teams and you understand football and you really study it and you watch how he's played, I think so. I think he's had a significant impact on our season so far. Some games dramatic, but yeah, I think he's playing at a really high level. We sure are glad we got him.
When you're playing a team that's good at just about everything, how do you create a hierarchy of what thing you stop first?
Yeah. So kind of back to your point too, Mike. I mean, it's funny, we go over the major stats, and you know, on Sunday and then Tuesday we kind of go over their team, and you put up, you know, here's their scheme, you know, here's their stats, you know, and it's pretty much 1 and 1, and that's conference and national, you know, boom, 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 and then you go to defense, and it's kind of the same thing. You know, they're ranked pretty high across the board. I think your question is a little bit like, you know, what he asked, in terms of the first thing you do is you identify who the issue guys are and how you're going to deal with them and limit their impact. And then after that, no different than any other week, how can you attack their weaknesses, whether it's based on formation, whether it's maybe a personnel mismatch that you think you may have. But I think at the end of the day, although we respect what they have on tape, I think you have to be careful that you don't sit in here as a coach and you try to recreate the wheel, you know, in 1 week. I think at the end of the day, we're going to run our base offense. You know, we're going to run our base defense. We'll have a few subtle things, specifically that are maybe plays that we already run, but are a slight modification of that to attack something. You know, I just, in my years of doing it at every level, that's the best way to do it. You got to stay true to who you are. You can't try to recreate yourself over a week. And then I think it's the fine line of paying the respect that they deserve, but not overdoing it as well. You know, we got a pretty good football team as well. So, you know, I think it's a great challenge. I think it's a great opportunity. I think our guys are excited. We've been pretty good, you know, on the road in some tough environments. This will be a tough one. But I do think the experience of going on the road and winning in a tough environment like Iowa is helpful. And I think we learned a lot from the Minnesota experience as well. So to me, it's both of those are opportunities for us to grow and learn and evolve from.
To follow up on what you just said about maybe adding new things to the game plan every week, how much of that is stuff that you guys have in the can and maybe are saving and it evolves throughout the season? How much of that kind of, you know, comes week to week whenever you see a team based on what you see on film? From
yeah, there's some of that, but I would say the majority of it is like So, for example, we have like a duo game plan, so a formation, a 2x2 game plan that we've used against Ohio State the last couple of weeks, and we pull, last couple of years, that we pull out, and we have that. These are things we did, and I know they got a new defense coordinator, but what I'm saying is we pull them out. We go back and look at what we've done in the past. But then we also have an all-time 2x2 sheet that shows everything we've ever run from 2x2. So that kind of gives you, those are things that you may be able to pull, something that we used 3 years ago, something that we used 4 years ago, something we used 2 years ago. So a lot of times it's that. And then there are some things like I'm saying, it's a 2x2 concept that we've been running, and we're going to change this one receiver's routes, this one receiver's route to break a tendency. So we've been running an over, we've been running a stick route by the tight end and an over behind, and we've been doing that, and we know that they're anticipating that, so then we're going to do something to complement that to break a tendency. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Some of it may be things that we've already done, some of it may be specific for that week.
Chief, you mentioned on Tuesday how difficult it is to talk about something like Noah Cain before you go on the practice field. Seems to be as active as we've seen him on the practice field since the injury. Is he trending in a positive direction this week so far?
Yeah, he is. I thought he looked pretty good today. Obviously we still got a little bit more time before the game, but that, you're right, that's the most that he's done. Probably in the last couple weeks. So we're trending in that direction. I think it'll probably still be a game time decision to make sure he's 100%, because these guys are too talented not to be 100%.
Thank you, Coach.
Awesome. Thanks guys.
Thanks.